So, continuing from where we left, uh, Northeast India as a region has an approximate population of about 45 million, and that is according to the 2011 census. And considering this population, it shares about 3.7% of India's total population, and of course even the geographical region comprise only about 7% of India's total area, and this region for many years it remained to be largely isolated till the recent past, when it remained to be historically a migrant receiving zone. But in the last 2 to 3 decades, this trend was reversed, and people started moving out of Northeast region to other parts of India, and this trend kept increasing over the years. So this new trend of migration from region shows a steep increase, especially after 1980s. And despite the fact that the natives of Northeast India were traditionally thought to be reluctant to migrate, yet, as I said, this trend kept increasing, especially after the 1980s. And such trend, it continued with a discernible increase even in the subsequent decades. So there are studies that indicate that this growth in the flow of population from the region to other parts of India is not halted. It's not going to be halted even in the days to come. So in 2010 alone, there was a report that claimed that over 1 lakh people have migrated from Northeast India to other mega cities of the country. And this is expected, as I said, to increase manifold in the years to come, with the exodus of people from the region, which is expected, to rise to even 30 to 50 lakhs in search of education and jobs in the next decade. Which means in the decade that begins from 2020. So, what is significant to the migration of people from the region is the increasing presence of young people from the region in many prominent urban centers of India. And even the choices of destination among these youths are determined by multiple factors, especially factors like the desire for quality higher education, better employment prospects, and other avenues. But despite these priorities set by the youth of the region, other pressing issues also, of course, exist, like the socio-political unrest which prevailed in many parts of the region, and therefore, the lack of infrastructure in the home state, as well as in the peripheral isolation, have also acted as the push factors for the young population of the region to move out of the region to other parts of India. So therefore, when we talk of migration, there is always the question of the push and pull. The question of push. We push people because of the lack of opportunities, because of the lack of infrastructure, and people are being pulled to other places because of the availing infrastructure, because of the availing opportunities through good quality higher education and employment. So therefore, most of the youth have certainly benefited largely from modern schooling and college education of Christian missionaries in the region, and therefore those who are relatively more competent and are ready for job markets available in major cities, they tend to migrate and they tend to move out of the region, as I said, because of the available opportunities, as well as because of the push factor, which are due to the lack of infrastructure, the lack of opportunities, and also because of the political unrest, because of the uncertainty about their own future. So therefore, some of the most favored, some of the studies conducted by many institutions in the past, like the one conducted by by people like Ramesh Babu, migration of northeast to urban centers. Then by one done by Rikil Charmang on the magnitude of migration of from northeastern region of India, in a book known as Migration, Identity and Conflict. They have all indicated, that most of the youths who have benefited from Christian missionaries, institutions, and are therefore more competent, especially with their language and skill, they are ready to move out to major cities. And some of the most favored destinations, as I said, are places like excuse me, like Delhi region, where there are 90 to 100,000 northeasterners. Then there are other regions like Bangalore, Mumbai, Calcutta, Chennai, Chandigarh, Pune, Hyderabad. All these are the favored destinations for the young people of the region to move out. And if you look at the common characteristics of all these destinations, they are destinations where there is good quality education, there are opportunities for employment, and opportunities, and then they are also destinations from where young people can even pursue further in the dreams of conquering the world. Along with all these cities bound movement, there are also those who migrate to smaller towns and suburbs of far off states within the country, of course. So there are also studies that have been conducted and that have shown the disperse of population of Northeast moving to different parts of India with, as I said, of course, major destinations being those of mega cities. So, therefore, although there are official figures on the migration of people from Northeast India to other parts of India, yet the Registrar General and Census Commissioner Government of India in 2011 has indicated that, as I told you earlier, that over 4,14,000 or 15,000 people have migrated from the region to other parts of India, even between 2005 and 2010 alone. And therefore, the annual average increase in number of migration from the region is estimated to be 13.62%. And as I said earlier, Delhi remains to be the most preferred destination with over 2 lakhs population, which accounts to more than 48% of the total migration figure. As I have mentioned, of course, in two other states also the people they migrate, and in most cases, as I said just now, the first preferred destination is Delhi, of course, Then of course other states like like even West Bengal for that matter. Then even Uttar Pradesh, 15% people move to Uttar Pradesh, and other cities as well. Even Kerala, to a certain extent, people they go there, and Tamil Nadu. So therefore, the nature and pattern of migration of people from Northeast India indicate that it is always accompanied by issues and dynamics that are otherwise different from the dynamics and the problems vis-a-vis the widely understood in the study of migration in the rest of India. And a very important determinant that decide the nature of migration from northeast to urban centers is, as I told you earlier, the educational and employment consideration. These considerations are often marked by the nature of high literacy rate in the region, which is contrary to a visible lack of adequate avenues and absence of infrastructure for higher technical and vocational education in the region itself. So therefore, there is also a mismatch between the existing educational system here and the demand for job market. So therefore, coupled with all these is also the result of inadequate economic infrastructure, which has definite implication on the decision of migrating from the region by the ambitious and educated youth. So these are some of the issues, these are some of the problems in the process of migration of people. So apart from these problems, the region, as we all know, is also crippled with bleak employment prospect in the local labor market due to the absence of large-scale industries in many parts of India, and other service sectors that provide employment to the people is also non-existent, as I said, except in a few places. So therefore, the process continues, and a large number of young people, they seek career-oriented education training away from the region, and therefore ultimately such urge for better job prospects and the improvement of the skill and the human resources make the young people to even migrate to other northeast to other Indian states and even to foreign destinations. So abysmal and very low level of industrialization and the even lower expansion of modern service sectors in the region have intensified, as I said, the movement of the increasingly educated youth of the region who are now looking for employment and prospect in the urban centers of the country, and therefore as such this prompt the youth populace of the region to move away from the comfort of their home. Another very important determinant that has contributed largely to the movement of people from their place in the region is as I mentioned again and again, is the political unrest taking the form of ethnic conflict, poverty, influx. These factors often force people to rethink about the prospect of their economic activities in their own homeland, and in certain cases, have made people to migrate and to relocate from their own land to urban centers where they can make their own living and plan their future in a safe manner. So, as I said, tensions and unrest, which even include religious, ethnic, and even communal clashes between locals and infiltrated population, and then insurgency, then tension between the population and the military have often affected normal life of the people in the region, and as such, many of the young people with so much of human resources within them, so much of skill within them, they seek for new location, not only for studies but also to sell their skill, to sell their talent, and also therefore Northeast India is losing all these human resources in the wake of the competing labor market and the non-availability of such possibilities, such opportunities within the region. So another factor that have an impact on the decision of people is probably the charm of cities with possibilities of being employed. With people of the region relatively having good command over English also, especially among the educated population. And as I've told you, the trend of Northeast migration is primarily from the educated class, from the population that are more affluent in terms of their skill and their language, especially the command over the English language. So more hospitable nature of people from the region are now moving to the cities, and this make the young population also to decide and try for the new economy, for the new jobs, for the new lifestyle, and also for new culture. New culture and of enhancing their own opportunities and possibility. There are also evidences that the dynamics of migration from Northeast India is distinct, as I said just now, from the usual pattern of rural poor in urban India. You see, unlike other migrants from other parts of India, Northeast migrants are from relatively better economic and educational background. Most of them have migrated due to abject, in other parts of India, most of them have migrated due to abject poverty in search of basic manual employment in cities rather than to seek better opportunities in various parts of India. And of course, the presence of Northeast population in factories outside the region is minimal, which means that most of the people from Northeast India who have migrated are, as I said, educated and skilled. They are mostly educated and skilled. And these, as I said, these migrants from the region are therefore more inclined towards pursuing higher studies and entering office or white-collar jobs in even in whether it is in government or in private sectors, especially in the 1990s with the boom of the BPO industries. Most of the young people took advantage of this opportunity. Many of them, initially moved to cities for studies, and thereafter, work, and a major chunk of them, settled down permanently in the urban, in the metro cities of India through marriages, and also bring other members from home, from the Northeast region to those cities to join the family. And this trend is one of the most important trends that have, increased the migration of people to other parts of India. A study has been conducted on the reasons for migration of northeastern states to other part of India, and it is found that work and employment constitute the highest reason for migration of people from the region. Business is much less, but work and employment, from Meghalaya, 17% consider work as the reason for migration. From Arunachal Pradesh, 13.84%, from Manipur 18.62%, and so on and so forth. Then the education is also the second most important reasons for migration, and of course marriage, because people have moved because their probably their spouse and their partners have moved, so people from the region also, they along with them, they join them to settle in other cities in India. Another very important study on the pattern of migration of people from the region to other parts of India, especially between 2005 and 10, and of course even later, has also shown that 66.35% of Northeast migrants migrate to major cities in India for higher studies, and as I told you, others they migrate for work. 33.65% migrate for employment. And out of the total student community, 78.15% come out for graduate studies. Others, 11.48%, they migrate for engineering and managerial work, and of course others they move for doing research and so on and so forth. So therefore, starting with the initial movement of people from the region to other parts of India, as I said, subsequently this also led to the emigration of people, and therefore from India to other parts of the world, to other regions of the world like the United States of America, then Europe, and then the Gulf countries, and therefore with this there emerged the formation of a new Northeast community known, which I called as the Northeast Indian diaspora. And the formation of this Northeast Indian diaspora is also one of the process of the formation of regional diaspora across India. We have seen that Kerala, for example, during this COVID-19 crisis, Kerala has to bring back many of the people from the Gulf countries, and Kerala is one of the states which is having the highest, which the remittance of the NRIs contribute as the highest percentage towards the GDP of Kerala. So in the same way, it is expected that the Northeast population, having moved from the region to other parts of India, will also be contributing towards the development of the region. One of the most important things that have happened, especially after the process of migration have intensified from the region to other parts of India, is the racial discrimination that people have faced, especially those who are from the hill states and those who belong to the Austro-Mongolite race. So these people, whether it is in Delhi, whether it is in Bangalore, in Mumbai, in Pune, and many other parts of India, they have to relocate themselves. Once people relocate in a new place, there is a contestation between their culture, between their identity, between the way they eat, between the way they communicate, between the way they they have to build a relationship, and so on and so forth. So in many cases, especially before the implementation of the anti-racial law in India, people of Northeast India have to live within the within the clutches of all these issues and problems. One of the reasons for these problems is, as I said, because Northeast India has been, and the people of Northeast India have been living in isolation for a very long time. There was there was no exposure, and people of the mainstream mainland India had very little knowledge about the culture of the people in Northeast India, about the liberty that they enjoy in the region, and therefore they impose many restrictions, and in the process there was conflict and contradictions. We have seen the case of Nido Tania, we have seen the case of Richard Loyton, and so on and so forth, where Northeast people have to face so many issues. So one of the major issues that India is encountering throughout its history is the issue of caste. But with the emergence of the Northeast population in many parts of the country, the issue of racial discrimination is becoming one of the most difficult problem that the government of India is facing across different states. Of course, things are changing gradually, but yet, as I said, with all these challenges that the Northeast people of India are facing, there is again the push factor from these areas, from these regions, and therefore pushing the people for new opportunities, especially beyond the Indian border, and therefore for the formation of Northeast Indian diaspora. So let me stop here for today, and with this lecture, I think I will conclude my lectures on the political institutions and processes in Northeast India. So in my next lecture, I will be spending time especially with 401, that is the political theory. So therefore, from the next lecture onwards, you will be listening to lectures on political theory. Thank you very much.